Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Kansas State's a 1.5-point favorite. Over under 56. This game's at 3:30 on Fox. Don't have to change your main TV if you're betting on these two main games. People know my thoughts on Oklahoma State. Go Pokes. I am on Kansas State here. I will be on Kansas State more. Will Howard's going to go, which is good enough for me. I don't think Adrian Martinez is going to play, but he's questionable. He has a knee injury. He took himself out of the game because of it last week. I'm assuming it's up to him, but Will Howard's getting most of the first team reps. I think all of the first team reps this week so far. And look, Oklahoma State, I got to give them credit this year, but there's holes in this team. They're kind of like they remind me of the Giants in the NFL. Like they're just finding ways to win. Like last week, you get 14-0 penalties. You get Texas missing a field goal late. You get 3 Texas turnovers. And, they were big turnovers. At the end of the game, you throw 2 picks. You have another turnover early in the game, a couple turnover on downs. Yes, Oklahoma State turned it over twice, but it didn't lead to any Texas points. They had a muff punt, and then Texas turned it over on downs. And Quinn Ewers just turned into a pumpkin in the second half, and he just couldn't make any throws. I don't know if it was the wind. I don't know if it was his mental state as a freshman. I don't know if he was dealing with something. But, one thing Texas did well all game is they ran all over Oklahoma State. They ran for 6.5 yards per carry. One thing Oklahoma State couldn't do is they couldn't run the ball, as they haven't been able to do all year. And that's big against Kansas State, because Kansas State's secondary is top 20 in EPA per pass this year. Oklahoma State's also dealing with a lot of injuries. They had 6 starters out, might have up to 7 missing in this game. And I think that just from a spot perspective, and I know Gundy's 15-2 against the spread as a dog. That is, to me, that is completely meaningless here. And these stats as a dog is like, that's the spread is 1. Like, come on, it's not like he's catching like 10 here. But when I look at Oklahoma State, they have to be absolutely gassed. Physically, mentally, they're dealing with a ton of injuries. This is their 5th Big 12 game of the month. And they've all, most of them are right down. The last 2 went right down to the wire. Meanwhile, Kansas State had a bye 2 weeks ago, should be much more rested. They have a couple bumps and bruises, specifically to Adrian Martinez. I'm hearing from a little birdie that Deuce Vaughn will be good to go. And look, it's funny that Oklahoma State, Kansas State in this game, this will be the 3rd straight year that Oklahoma State has faced a backup quarterback in this game, assuming Will Howard goes. Will Howard played against them in 2020 in a 2-point home loss. Oklahoma State won on an 88-yard fumble return touchdown in the final minute. Sounds about right. Howard ran for about 130 yards in that game. And Kansas State dominated statistically, but lost. Sounds about right again. But I just think that Kansas State will be able to lean on its ground game here, wear down this exhausted, beat up Oklahoma State defense. And look, also they're bottom 10 in the country in early down EPA. That is a bad sign for this defense. And look, they're also 4th in opponent 4th down conversion rate. There is a lot of luck that has gone into Oklahoma State season so far. I'll take the more rested team with the superior rushing attack and defense in a favorable spot at home. And for what it's worth, since Chris Klieman took over the job at Kansas State, if he covers this game, he will be the most profitable coach against the spread over that span. If he doesn't, it's Gundy. This is for the against the spread crown of college football head coaches since Klieman took over at Kansas State. Both of these guys have been absolutely money when you back them. E-ball, Wildcats, Kansas State gets it done at home. The voodoo show ends, and the frauds can go away.
Yeah, we just got news like 16 minutes ago that it looks like Adrian Martinez is a game time decision. Deuce Vaughn is going to play. No health issues there. Although,
Oh, that's public. See, I was trying to give out a little nugget, but
yeah, that was just put out there by Coach K a little while ago. And the slot corner Julius Branson, strong safety / corner Josh Hayes. It looks like
they're a good go. Yep,
they're good to go too. So Adrian Martinez is really the one holding this number up. And listen, for me, I think I can't promote the Action app enough. There was a couple books holding Oklahoma State +3 on open, and then by Sunday night it was Kansas State +1.5. So I dipped on both of those. And then took the under earlier today because the news could have been bad, but you can easily get out of that now too if you want. But if you're gonna go with this game, I mean, you're really waiting for Adrian Martinez because Will Howard, 10 designed rushing attempts against TCU, and he just had 30 yards on those gap runs with pulling linemen. They didn't run any zone reads whatsoever, which is what Martinez uses about 30% of the time. And the Oklahoma State defense, they're 8th in stuff rate and 14th in line yards. So those numbers are kind of falling as the season goes along. Texas was 6.4 per carry. TCU was 5.2 per carry. So they've had a lot of success against this Oklahoma State defense. And that's where you hear Stuckey and myself and some others say this Oklahoma State defense is not as good as what everybody thinks it is. And then you go and you look at the game logs, right?
They also have injuries too. They lost like 2 defensive linemen might be out. They have receivers that are hurt. Guys in the secondary. It is a beat up defense.
Yeah, and so what's going on here is there's just been some really good halftime adjustments. TCU punted 6 times, had a 10-play drive. It ended in downs because of a stuff of Darius Davis. And then Texas in the second half. Just listen to I can't even believe I got that team total over. Texas in the second half, punt, field goal, punt, miss field goal, interception. Terrible. So Oklahoma State is giving up the middle of the field. They're giving up a ton of yards to everybody, but give credit to Derek Mason for his adjustments at halftime because they've been great at limiting everybody after the half. So we'll see if Adrian Martinez is going to play. The big money has been on Kansas State because I think by the way, the number in the market right now says that Adrian Martinez is going to play. If it's Will Howard, then that number needs to move about 3 points. So everything in the market says that Adrian Martinez is going to play. I'm going to hang on to my under ticket. Not really positive that Adrian Martinez is going to be healthy enough to play at this point. And if that happens, it's going to be a Will Howard, Kansas State attack that doesn't use zone read. It uses a lot of gap runs. And I think that just plays into the under. But, be careful. Coach Kleiman has yet to beat Gundy in 3 head-to-heads. There's something going on. Maybe it's, I know it's only 3 games, but the Kansas State has just been undressed by Oklahoma State these times they've met up. But so under for me officially, and then we'll see how it goes with Adrian Martinez on which side I'm going to play.
Yeah, look, they faced Oklahoma State's when they played them. They've always had a backup quarterback. Last year when they played, Jaron Lewis started for Kansas State, and the year before that, Will Howard got the start. Because what's his name? Skylar Thompson was hurt. This will be the 3rd straight year of backup starts. And in that Will Howard game, they actually outplayed them, and Howard had like 130 yards rushing. But I think that I actually make this game 4.5 with Adrian Martinez. It's a little bit of a drop off with Howard, but I actually don't think it's that big of a drop off. I would still play it up to -2.5, and just because of the spot and like how beat up in Oklahoma State is, and then this matchup, like Kansas State secondary against Oklahoma State, and that's how they're moving the ball. And we'll see how Sanders' shoulder is too. Look good last week, but he threw 60 passes. But they're dealing with a lot of injuries here. And then Kansas State, who wants to run the ball as much as anyone in the country, they have a good matchup here in doing so. So yeah, look, Will Howard will get to work with the ones all week, so everything will look a lot smoother. Give me the Wildcats.